All right, it has been an especially embarrassing week for the top members of the Trump administration, and it's all been self-inflicted. Of course, there's the MAGA civil war over Attorney General Pam Bondi's handling of the Epstein files. Before that, you had MAGA World that was already on high alert after Agricultural Secretary Brooke Rollins gave mixed messages over possible amnesty for undocumented workers. Then there is this guy, Pete Hegseth, over at the Defense Department, pausing weapons to Ukraine without first letting the White House know that he's going to do that. The New York Times columnist Maureen Dowd is calling it Trump's cabinet of incompetence, writing in part, quote, "It is a paradox. If you choose your cabinet based on looks, you are likely to end up with a cabinet that makes you look bad." Joining us now, Natasha Alford, Senior Vice President for The Grio, and Jonathan Alter, longtime journalist, columnist, and writer of The Old Goats on Substack. It's great to have both of you with us. I'll start with you, Jonathan. Who do you think had the worst week when you look at it? We're still 6 months in the administration. And surprisingly, the retention of cabinet members and senior officials a little bit better than the first time around for the Trump administration. And the only notable change would have been Mike Waltz at the National Security Agency. But for the most part, the cabinet has held up until this moment.
Well, I'm not sure that's very meaningful.
Right.
Because they haven't forced on. So, a few years ago, I learned a new word, kakistocracy.
Okay.
I've never heard of it before. What it means, it's a Greek word meaning government by the incompetent.
Oh, man.
I thought it was government by the worst people.
The worst people, but with an emphasis on their incompetence.
Okay, I guess there are different ways to be worse.
Yeah, so it's not a government of crooks. That's a whole other thing. But
Kleptocracy.
Yeah, kleptocracy. They're incompetent, and you can go right down the list. So there's pretty stiff competition on who had the worst week. The Agriculture Secretary, Brooke Rollins, who hasn't gotten very much attention, she suggested that people who need Medicaid go work on farms, replacing the migrants who have been arrested and deported, except the president says no, because people in agribusiness are his friends. He's not going to arrest you, detain you, and deport you if you work on a farm or, of course, at a hotel, like a Trump hotel. But if you work, say, cutting grass or as a domestic, then off to jail you go, right? So that's the kind of incompetence of the mass deportation policy. Kristi Noem is supposedly, in charge of that, and she had a horrible week because she delayed 72 hours in providing FEMA help for those people in Texas, because she had this crazy idea that in a budget of more than $100 billion, she should sign off on every expenditure of $100,000. That's a definition of incompetence.
That's her
there.
live right now. She seems to be having a good time. I'm not sure she knows she had a bad week.
So
or maybe she's there because she had a bad week.
I'm just getting started. We haven't even gotten to Hegseth.
Yeah.
Well, Natasha, I have to ask you.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of Hegseth, I was told that we would get a meritocracy.
Oh, yeah.
I was told that it was people who look like you and me who were ruining everything in government. So what happened?
Well, we went from a 4-star general, right, who was highly qualified, who happened to be black, to a Fox News host with very little experience, who now they are getting what they paid for, right? And this is what happens when you prioritize loyalty. And Dowd said looks, but I say race and gender over what really matters, because the idea was the least qualified white man is better than the most qualified black man. Right. Like, that was the underlying message there, that with his eyes closed, he could do this job. And we see that he can't, from Signalgate to what's happening with, the weapons pause in Ukraine. And just in general, his melting down and crashing out, as the kids say, the accusations of day drinking and yelling, all these unprofessional sort of attributes that people, again, assume that people of color bring to the workplace. We're seeing that he can't get the job done.
Well, maybe it's
He's a DEI hire, did not earn it, as someone has noted.
I was going to say maybe for some people that's a bug, and for some people that's a feature if you drink on the job. I don't know.
But it's not a feature if you can't figure out what your own president thinks you should be doing in terms of pausing
weapons
aid to Ukraine.
Yeah, I'm being flip. I'm sorry.
Do you think anyone's going to face consequences for what's happened this week?
There's never any consequences with Trump. And, he's the one to blame. He's president. He's the one who he said he should have been making the decision on the weapons for Ukraine. And then he asks a reporter, who made this decision? This is not on a minor matter. And, they're not happy on the Hill where there's strong support for aid to Ukraine. So they look, it's like Dumb and Dumber.
And at every point where Republicans had an opportunity to stand up and say where they really stood, they always fell just short. 3 Republicans voted against Hegseth. He barely made it through. It was only because of J.D. Vance that he was able to be confirmed. So they stopped short of speaking what they know is true.
Well, Rubio got unanimous support in the Senate, including from Democrats. So I don't know.
I think some of those Democrats were still seeing, like
They
2016 Rubio. And
well, I also think that they felt that they needed, and I understand the logic of this, but they felt they needed to have somebody who was from their own ranks that they could feel was at least going to be.
There's a lot of collegiality.
Yeah, but also somebody they felt that was going to be an adult in the room, right?
Yeah, but except he's had no influence whatsoever.
Well, that's the
in the
point.
room.
They made a gamble, and once again, they were wrong. The Democrats were wrong. People were telling them, you need to block every single one of these appointments. And at the end of the day, they were like, you know what, let's just at least settle on Marco Rubio to show the American people we can play ball.
We can be reasonable.
Yeah, we can be reasonable, and he can be an adult in the room, and he's proven to be.
It's very disappointing, but he was not manifestly incompetent for the job. He had the credentials.
Well, now he has
2 jobs now.
I think he has 3. Right? He's
USAID, the National Security Advisor, and Secretary of State.
Yeah, so he has
crazy.
He has
like
3.
Sean Duffy.
Sean Duffy has 2. Department of Transportation Secretary and head of NASA.
Yes,
so
interim head
if
of
you're
NASA.
running a company, this is what you do in the private sector, right? You give your managers responsibility for 2 huge divisions of your company, 3 huge divisions of your company. Donald Trump is a thoroughly incompetent manager. He always has been. He went bankrupt 6 times. He's great at performance art. He's great at trashing people. He's terrible actually running the government.
And that's what happens when you prioritize loyalty over competition.
Okay, so let's say you're a cabinet member who's bad at one job, and then you're also bad at another job. If you do both of those jobs at once, does that mean you're going to be better? I'm just curious. I don't understand Trump math here.
Yeah, it only gets worse. These problems don't get better as time goes on. It's just more levels of incompetence are revealed, and we haven't even gotten to our Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who made a total hash not just of Epstein, but on it. I think everybody knows about that. But I'm still focused on what she said about fentanyl. She said that first. She said that Trump saved 265 million lives. Yeah. And then when she, people thought, a slip of the tongue, she changed it. No, he only saved 119 million lives. Like, he saved half of the American people from dying from fentanyl.
Aren't you grateful? Well, one or the other of you statistically was saved by him.
And that's just one of many completely idiotic things that have come out of this woman's mouth.
Well, the good news is that I don't think anyone's paying attention to her, which should be some relief that most people are not paying attention to the things that are, as you say, idiotic coming out of her mouth.
Natasha and Jonathan, stick around.